All right, we're at Studio SX at South by Southwest 2009. I'm Grant Robertson. I'm talking to Stephanie Klein. Hi, Stephanie Klein.
Hello.
You're an author and a blogger, and you've sort of done a lot of things in that sphere. You kind of started off as a wide open relationship blogger, I guess would be a good way to put that.
I would say I wrote very honestly. I started my blog Greek Tragedy in 2004 and started because I broke up with a guy, and I like to say that all good things start with endings and breakups. So I started my blog and just writing very honestly about my life and what I was experiencing being young and divorced under 30. So that's how I really started my blog, and it took off from there.
I'm twice divorced under 30, and I didn't make a business out of it. Like that's
impressive.
That's actually like a really good way to get started.
I made took the lemons and made lemon shots, and had a really good time. I was putting so much energy into dating. I had Match.com and JDate and you name, like Nerve.com, every dating website. I was putting all my time and energy to, and I said, the guys aren't around at the end. Maybe I should start putting this energy into myself. And that's when I started a blog and started taking photography classes. And then I became a red carpet photographer in New York. And then submitted my photography portfolio to the Hotel Gansevoort in New York City and became the photographer for the Hotel Gansevoort. All of the rooms and suites and corridors of the hotel are all my photography. And then people started coming to my website to, look at pictures of what I was doing, and they stayed to read. And then I got a phone call from a newspaper in London, and they said, "We love your blog, yeah? And we're pissing ourselves here, yeah? And we want to publish your writing, yeah? And we're going to pay you, yeah?" I'm like, yeah. So it just took off from there, and I wasn't looking for any of it. I was just being myself and telling my stories. Cool.
And so was that how the book started?
Then I got
Straight Up and Dirty?
I was basically offered like a 3-book deal package from a publishing house in the UK, and I turned it down and decided to get an agent, a literary agent, and do it the right way. And I found a literary agent, and they said, obviously people are really responding to what you're writing on your blog. Why don't we see if we can cull some of that and put it into a format that's a book? What do you think? So I worked on a book proposal that was a lot of work, but then I sold the book to Judith Regan, a 2-book deal, and then ABC called me and said, "We want to make a television show out of Straight Up and Dirty. Will you write it?" So I just finished writing the pilot for ABC, with ABC Studios and Brillstein Gray, based off of my first book, Straight Up and Dirty.
Okay, and is that going to be called Straight Up and Dirty, or?
Yeah, it is. It's called Straight Up and Dirty.
Risky title for
but
ABC.
Honestly, who knows if it'll ever get on the air? These things are tough, so it's a really awesome experience.
All right, but you've made sort of a transition though. Like you've had like a whole life transition, and that has made a huge transition in your public life too, because you've gone from being this like relationship blogger, and you're hip, and you're in New York, and you're the single girl everybody wants to be, and then now you're a mommy blogger.
Then I get knocked
living
up
in Austin, and
yeah.
I believe like there's 7 mentions of poop on your front page right now. So you've gone from like relationships to poop, which is
kind of the same.
Sure.
A little bit the same, but now I live in Austin, Texas with a husband and 2-year-old twins, and my daughter smears her poop, and it's awesome, and that's what I'm dealing with. And people still read. I don't necessarily think people read you because of what you're experiencing in life. I think they read you because you say something that makes them think about their own lives and how maybe you make them think, maybe you entertain them, you make them laugh, and they don't really necessarily care what it is you're writing about. They're just along for the ride. And
was that something that you shot for originally, or is that something you've come to have as a philosophy? Is that something you shoot for in your writing now, or is it something that just happens organically?
I haven't said, you know what, I'm living in New York, I think it'd be really good for my blog to move to Austin. No. I just decided, I made it in New York, I was happy in New York, but that's the only place I ever lived. So I said, I'm going to try to I want to live somewhere warm, but I didn't want to move to Florida because all New Yorkers move to Florida. And I wanted to move, a place where I could wear flip-flops anywhere and still be welcome. And I think when it comes to writing and worrying about pleasing an audience and will this material, respond to people, I think you can't work, like what I really try, I guess my motto is, really write it as if no one's reading it. And I don't mean that to say, oh, write about what you had for lunch that day. I mean, when you're nervous about how people might respond to something that you're going to write, hit publish and walk away and close your laptop and don't worry about it. Because the minute you start worrying about what people think is the minute your writing stops being authentic.
All right, and you have a new book.
I do.
Memoir of Fat Camp.
A Memoir of Fat Camp. I was sent away to fat sleepaway camps for 5 summers of my life. And I was pregnant with twins, and my doctor said to me, as an adult, you're going to need to gain 50 pounds. And I said, if I gain 50 pounds, I'm going to weigh more than a Honda. There's like no chance in hell I'm gaining 50 pounds for kids. And he's like, what's your problem? I don't understand. Well, I grew up as the fat girl. And Moose is really a memoir about how do we navigate that childhood terrain that we think in our heads. If I grew up with the nickname Moose, am I still Moose? And how do we let go of those childhood wounds? Because intellectually we know that's not who we are anymore, but emotionally we still feel it. And as a pregnant woman, I had to get on the scale every week to make sure I was gaining enough weight for the health of my twins. And it brought back all those childhood memories of getting on a scale each week and being weighed to make sure I lost enough weight. So it came full circle and made me start thinking about how am I going to raise my own daughter not to have food issues.
So I imagine writing a book like that's pretty cathartic I imagine you went through a lot of emotional ups and downs even in getting that out and getting it on paper.
Yeah, I mean, it is definitely emotional. And then you have people judging you, like, are you thin enough? Who are you to write a book on Fat Camp? Like, you're still fat. I mean, there's all sorts of judgments that go on. And so people were like, are you really going to work out before you go on tour? No, I'm cool with the way I am right now. Might not be perfect, but I'm fine with it. I'm not willing to drive myself crazy counting calories. As long as my doctor says I'm okay, then that's all that matters to me.
That's a fair way to live, I guess. It's probably the only way to stay sane, really, when you think of that's your weight.
Yeah, people can obsess. They can use their powers for good or bad. You could take all that obsession about food and gear it towards, counting Weight Watcher points and doing it, just this way, or you could do it the opposite like I do, reading menus in bed. That's one of the things we did at Fat Camp. I learned at Fat Camp, the parents they were told they were not allowed to send food to the kids. One parent sent menus. And I assume it's because they wanted the child to sit down with the nutritionist and go through and say, well, when I get home, here are things that I might be able to eat and go over a menu. But instead, we sat there at night in our bunks with flashlight, reading in the middle of the night, eggplant parmesan. Read that one again, because we were so deprived of food. And we were weighed on meat scales at Fat Camp. We went chunky dunking, which most people call, skinny dipping. It was chunky dunking at Fat Camp. And there was a whole black market of food that was sold. You got $20 for a king-size Snicker bar. So there was all that, plus kids who are getting no play at home. Suddenly you get to Fat Camp, everyone's fat, everyone's having sex. It's like 2 pigs fighting over a milk dud. It's a good time. It was fun.
Fantastic. So basically what you're saying is if you're an overweight early teen and you really want to get laid,
oh my God, yes. It will be the best experience of your life.
Good advice. Sound, solid advice.